Today we are going to be interviewing Amanda John. Amanda has 14 years experience in the financial services industry. A number of roles, so I'm going to try and, I got the list here. Head of the Black Distributors Trust, Old Mutual Black Distributors Trust. Business Development Manager, with a focus on enhancing the value proposition of IFAs and their support staff. Also sits on the Old Mutual Group SMME Steering Committee and serves as a non-executive board member of Notile Consulting. Have I missed anything? Is that right?
Maybe a few
Is
things,
it a bit more?
but we don't need to get into them.
Well, we're very privileged to have you.
That's good enough for now.
We're very privileged to have you, Amanda. Amanda, just tell us a bit about yourself, your passion for this industry. And, yeah, who's Amanda?
I think I would need to tell the story, when you ask it like that, I'll probably need to tell the story of how I got to study financial planning.
Okay.
Because I guess for me, that's probably where it started, right? So I was registered to do law, then I started with my BCom law, and then as I was transitioning into the postgrad LLB program, because I still wanted to have the full legal degree, even though at that time I was like, the people I'm studying with that are really interested in being attorneys are just very different from me. So chances are maybe I shouldn't be an attorney. I just found them really boring. Lack of personality. I'm like, no man, I'll bring the personality. So maybe I need to do something different. And I guess as I was transitioning from the BCom law into the LLB, I was like, what can I add to the program for myself that could potentially expose me to just a different landscape? And then I came across, financial planning postgrad, and I literally attacked, believe it or not, my postgrad LLB at the same time as my postgrad financial planning.
What?
I completed the LLB. I took longer to complete, the financial planning. And I think I wasn't worried about that, but I'm so happy I made that decision, because I think as I kind of explored financial planning, I was like, so where would I start? So what kind of a job would I have to get first to really get exposure into this thing? And I guess what seemed to come up a lot at the time was being a financial advisor.
Sure. So you were an advisor as well?
My first job as a financial advisor, I was living in the Eastern Cape. That's where I'm from. Studying in the Free State. Had some cousins and uncles and stuff, but had to obviously fend for myself when I got here. Then I met a guy who happens to be my husband now, and then I lied to my parents. Don't worry, he won't watch. My mom and dad won't watch. And I said, you know what? I got my first job and I moved to be with the guy, but I knew that I was really, really, going to Joburg to start securing some interviews and see what happens. I knew the Eastern Cape was probably a bit of a small province for me, and the rest is history. I got my first financial advisory role, commission only. Poor guy. I'd be like, listen, I didn't make enough this month, so what you going to do about it, But yeah, I guess that's how I tapped into financial planning, and I've just always
and you've never
loved
looked
it.
back, eh?
Definitely.
So you didn't even venture into law at all?
No.
But I'm sure you do some legal aspects now, but in your new roles.
I guess that's why compliance doesn't bore me as much as it would bore other people, because I don't mind the regulatory landscape and acts and bills and all of that.
Sure.
But would I have been an attorney / advocate? Never.
Okay, so that gives us good background now. So you're now heading up the Old Mutual Black Distributors Trust. Can you tell me about the formulation of that fund and the purpose, the mandate, and how did that all come about? And your involvement there?
It's so much. And I love saying it's so much, because if you really search for BDT, Black Distributors Trust, yes, it does sit on Old Mutual's landing pages. It's really about funding and transforming the industry and really having Old Mutual, I guess, at the forefront, I think I'll proudly say, in really contributing in seeing more Black advisory firms or non-white advisory firms, and having that group of advisors kind of growing in those firms. But it's so much more than that. So I like the question because I think it really gives me an opportunity to get into what really keeps us busy. Because what keeps us busy isn't the process of funding an advisor's business via a loan and having them have an opportunity to scale their businesses. There's so much work that happens pre, during, and post all of that. And I guess that's why we are a development finance. It's not a financing house, actually a development finance house. And I think the reason for that is because we do understand that there's a big need for so many different things in every single one of those practices that even when we fund, what they're trying to solve for is the problems they have at hand that can just help them get their businesses to the next level. Then we really go in there and we do quite a big deep dive into the practices and really understand what's everything that's happening in the practice. What are some of the initiatives, which are many, that are happening in our world of BDT that we can basically channel towards these different practices, so that I can say we can almost meet them halfway. So you will think about things like problems with access to market, you will think about things like training, you will think about things like giving opportunity to much younger financial advisors who are looking to be placed, but are maybe, staying away from a commission-based kind of a job. So there's so many different challenges that are happening, and we're trying to say, even though we funded you, let's find other avenues of injecting some of the solutions that we believe we can additionally fund into those businesses so that those businesses can grow.
What I really like about what you're saying is not just about the funding. Funding is really only one aspect to make a financial planning practice successful. Could you talk about some of that capacity building that you run for the practices? And I can share also some good experiences that I've had.
Would love that. That's such a tricky question only because it's so different for every single practice. And I think, to one of the first questions that I answered around what keeps us busy is actually not even just the funding process. It's where we partner with the people we have funded to help them create those different capacities. Because for some practices, capacity will be tech. For others, it will be the people. For others, it will be the training for the people. For others, it might even be office space. So it's so many different resources. And I think what comes with each resource is also building the capability for those resources. So you can't employ people and not train them and develop them and provide them access to markets. You can't bring in the tech solutions and not ensure that the people have the capability, to use those things to build more efficiencies in the businesses. You can't get people to really try and get to the next level in terms of even space and not maximize on that space. So there's so many different things that we look at where we say, how do we really come on board and become I'll say almost like a business advisory partner for those practices, because there's so many different things and it's difficult to say here's the list or here's the one thing in terms of capacity building, because it is going to be different for each of them. By the way, I think one of the things, and maybe that's one of the things you were going to start sharing, I think one of the things that was also critical, we've now funded close to 30 practices. Beginning of last year, we had about 9. So you can understand the amount of activity we've had as BDT in the last 18 months. To the question around capacity building, we don't leave the business owners out because they need to lead for success, right? So they need training, they need development, they need opportunities, they need knowledge building, they need room to build their profiles and their propositions and have presence and have so many different opportunities that can really help them even sit in front of the right people so that they can have those business partnerships as well.
Absolutely. And again, I'm speaking now as a beneficiary. So I head up 360 Financial Planning, which is a separate business, but my business manager who now experiencing the BDT experience, we've appreciated that capacity building. So obviously I'm making sure the funding is there, making sure operations and the money, all those things. But it's been so fascinating to see the growth of Mbuso, the guy that works for us. And he started out, so he's in the industry for a while, but started out as an advisor in a tight space for many years. But when he came into the business and working with the BDT, he started to see all the different functions in the planning process. So you got to sit in front of clients, you got to do an analysis, so there's a planning aspect, there's product understanding, and one person can never do that. And what we've been so appreciative of the BDT is
and yet many businesses can't afford to have too many different people to do all of those different functions.
Exactly, and so what we did with the BDT is unpack all those different stages. And just to see the growth of Mbuso now as the black advisor, who eventually will be running the business, it's fascinating. But I just want to go back to that point again. Funding is one aspect. It's the capacity building which makes successful advisors.
And like I said, that's what keeps us busy. That's really, really what keeps us busy. There's a practice based in Centurion that was funded about 3 years ago. And we happened to have a conversation, if I'm not mistaken, around September last year. And the business partner said to me, you know, Amanda, you've now brought the developmental side of financing to BDT.
Yes.
And I was so happy to hear that, because probably prior to you saying that to me, maybe I wouldn't have been able to articulate what really keeps us busy. We probably look like we're very busy, but what really, really keeps us busy is the developmental side of the financing. The financing is a very process-driven thing, but the developmental side, which I think you're calling it the capacity building side, flip, man, you can't have a process for that, because for every single practice, it's so different. And I think when people speak about being bespoke, we think they're just trying to use good English. No, it's true. It's really, really bespoke developmental finance.
That's nicely put. What are then the barriers to entry for black brokers coming in? What have you seen? Obviously, we've now spoken about the financing, capacity building. What are you seeing just for people to get into the industry?
I wish I had an answer for every single one of those things in terms of what are those shortcomings. But without necessarily listing them, I think it's so many things that so many people in practice can actually resonate with, right? And I'll give a few examples, and hopefully that answer gives you that list of some of those things. There's a guy I met at a dinner we hosted with APSIP. This is about 2 months ago. And he's from Bloem. And he said to me, I didn't know anything about BDT. I didn't know that Old Mutual has this trust, right? And I don't need money. I don't need a loan. I don't need funding. I don't need access to market. I have a lot of that in the Free State. I don't need people because I've got them. Do you know what I need? I need to have the best marketing material. So from your banners to whatever it is that marketing means for them, so that they can have a professional way of how they show up to their prospective clients. So that's such a different problem to what other people will have, where other people, their barrier to entry is thinking you study financial planning, and all you can be is a financial advisor. So you don't get people who understand that you can be a business owner who is a financial advisor, or you can be a financial advisor who employs other people in future to become financial advisors. And I think financial planning is not yet seen as a top of mind career path. People might select it because it's just one of the things they could have chosen when they saw whatever prospectus, and they don't realize what it is they getting themselves
From
into.
a career path thing, there's limited understanding.
I was just about to get into that.
You know, historically, you think about brokers, you typically think about somebody knocking on the door, coming to sell you something. And over the years, our industry has become professionalized. So there's a career path, a professional path that you can follow, and opportunities. And that's some of the things in me working in the industry I've seen. Even with clients, you need to explain to them that we're financial planners. This is a planning process. We want to add value. It's not about selling a product. So from a career pathing, I think that's so important that we educate the young talent coming through that this is this big path in financial services you can play in.
And I think that we start to do different as a profession, because that's where I was going with my next comment around one of the barriers to entry is that we are still traditionally a commission-based profession for the most part of it, and let's be honest. But you know what's been amazing, Dalton? Almost, if not even all, to be really honest, practice we have funded, if in their business plan, getting in young talent in their business, they actually make room for salary earning advisors because they know who they're looking for, they know what they're looking for in that person. Advisors like yourselves who are running businesses, who are trying to grow businesses, are looking for younger advisors who have the right, qualifications. They understand that that qualification comes at a cost. I guess similarly, if you were employing an accountant graduate, you're going to give them a graduate salary. Why are we not doing that in financial planning?
Also, how do you
it's been
expect
so inspiring to see so many practice owners who get funding making room in their business plan to actually pay an upfront salary for advisors. And I know that's been one of the hardest things to shift in the industry, but we definitely slowly seeing that.
I think this is what the BDT is doing very well because, in our planning business, our agreement is that we develop people on that model where, like if you're an accountant, you spend 3 years doing articles before you signing off business. And you learn the business. And then what happens is that youngster coming in is not out there chasing commission because then you're hurting the industry. They're chasing commission. But now, if that person has a nice basic salary as a graduate, they spend 3 years learning the nuts and bolts, and then they're ready to be client-facing. And then you have retention in the industry. And so we've learned a lot of that in the sense of we believe that if you give a minimum sort of salary, your retention is going to be higher.
Absolutely.
And the quality
and the advice, the quality of the advice is also
we're
better.
talking about now traditionally how we're seen as brokers, and now the quality comes through, and the profession is then sort of looked at from better light.
And that has an impact on consumers and communities as well, because
You're probably
find
leading to the next
that
question now.
advisors are a lot more willing to spend just a bit more time with the prospective client to actually educate, which is one of the big drivers in the country, to really build that financial awareness. And one of the ways we can do, there's an influx of financial advisors in the country, but you would swear there isn't enough advisors to go out there and really drive that empowerment and that education and that literacy.
But
they're there.
The thing is, it's the tension because a youngster coming in, 3 years at varsity, starts as an advisor. Where is he going to get clients from? He's on commission. Do you know what I mean? He needs to build a business from scratch, basically. And that's why we lose the talent. So I love that about the BDT, and we've applied that in our planning business, and Mbuso is a great example. This was somebody who was in a tight space and left because of just basic income. And to come back and then run the business, you just see all the talent coming through. He's not chasing commission, focusing on process, operations, proper plans and advice. You then retain that kind of quality. So that's actually going to take me to my next question. And this is why I'm very proud to be a beneficiary of the trust. It's the impact on society as a whole. How important is our profession?
How important are doctors?
I love that. Yeah. What did you say? Drop the mic.
I promise you,
that's
it's literally the same. It's like we all have a right for, I hope my English is correct, for access to health,
Yes.
access to housing, right? It's the Bill of Rights. We all have a right to that. It's part of our constitution.
Yeah.
It's a right. We need that so much. And I'm not exaggerating, say, as much as we need water and this and that. But society is dying from having made terrible financial decisions, which for such a big part end up impacting their health, end up impacting their family and household setups, their relationships. Money breaks down businesses. We've seen money breaks policy and political structures. And I think it's because there wouldn't be so much of greed behind money for those who can access the money if people really learned and it became innate in them and it became a part of just how they naturally do things to manage money better. There's such a big need, you know.
But we need ethical, educated practitioners to do that in our industry.
And they're there.
Yeah.
You know what?
They're there.
I think backtrack to the conversation around the barriers. I didn't answer all of it, but I'm not going to dwell on it too much. There's hundreds every single year, if not probably 2,000 or 3,000 students who graduate honors level financial planning. So the base is there. They don't easily have access to the kind of opportunities that can really develop them. And I guess hence the conversation we were having earlier around, you know, commission structures or, you know, salary models or whatever it is, conversation for another day. But the people are there. So one of the things that BDT is actually backing up is a mentorship program with some financial planners who are running their own practices, but some also, you know, really well qualified women who have different and all sorts of different roles in financial planning businesses, the likes of your Old Mutuals, Ellen Grays, or whatever it is. And these ladies are actually mentoring UJ's honors level financial planning students. And that mentorship isn't just about the person, but it's about really helping them understand the magnitude of possibility and opportunity that actually lies in financial planning. If you hear a lot of them why they chose financial planning, because they're just giving it a try, you know, because they believe they can change the communities where they come from, because they've seen how the lack of money or making terrible decisions around money has impacted those societies, so they want to make a difference. And we're trying to have that relationships with the likes of UJ, with the likes of NMMU, and hopefully so many other institutions, and link those up with practices like yourselves, where we can get that influx of people that can then go out and really, really drive that awareness and that education in society.
In our space, we talk about the work that we do is multi-generational. So when a real good planner sits in front of a client, he has the ability to shape things in that community for generations to come and to break sort of poverty cycles with proper planning. And then you see the magnitude of actually of what we do. So I love that part and its impact on society. Next question. Okay, we're coming at the back end now of our interview, but what sort of encouragement would you, so to two people, up-and-coming talent, thinking about a career, so what encouragement would you give to somebody that wants to join or become a financial advisor or about the industry, and then for organizations who are employing advisors? Yeah, because I've seen some good examples and some bad examples. So maybe if you could share a bit about that.
So I'll say the young and the old.
Yeah.
Because that's the question. And I think for the young, research and get yourself out there. So within the mentorship, it's like a mini mentorship / internship.
So would you say the young, while they're studying or while they're considering or just joining?
The industry?
Yeah.
No, while they're studying.
Okay, so they're students now. And
yes, and they're even thinking career, because there is different career paths within the financial planning discipline, right? And I would say those people really need to research so that they can understand the different opportunities from a career path point of view. They need to start connecting with people that can motivate them and inspire them, that they can aspire to become more like, right? Because it's those people that are really, really going to help them understand how to navigate different things in the profession. And I would say they need to get themselves out there as much as possible. And they can only do that by researching and connecting with people, because the only way you'll see the different things that are happening is if you are actually doing those two things. And the reason I'm saying that is because through the mentorship program, we have shadow weeks. So every quarter, there's a 2-week period where the students actually then meet up with the mentor and they basically work with them. What's been awesome is that the mentors actually literally take these young, professionals or future professionals to the different events that they attend, to the speaking engagements that they become a part of. And I think we had an 85% placement rate in terms of job placement last year. That was never even the point. Sure. The purpose was to just be a mentor and to really guide them. But it became such a beautiful journey that because of the different connections they also made, it opened them up to different opportunities. And perhaps that is already part of the answer to the next question that you asked.
Actually, I had a thought now, and I don't want to lose it, but I'm just thinking, if we're doing that at sort of a university level, we can even start at schools.
That's true.
And speak about the importance of financial planning as a possible career. At school, everybody knows I can be an accountant, a lawyer,
Yes.
engineer.
Yes.
You'll never ever hear I'll be a financial planner. So
you know why that is more true?
Yeah.
Because most people who actually go into honors level financial planning were not in the undergrad financial planning.
Wow.
So that's actually
Yes.
extremely true,
Yeah.
because you want them to even consider the undergrad, right, as an option, as opposed to they came across it in their third year. Yeah. And then they're like, let me consider it an option. Sure. Then once I do, I'll make a decision around it, whether I'll take it a notch up,
Okay,
so I think that's definitely
you
true.
So,
and we can talk about how we can possibly start that.
Yeah. So now to the old, and this is,
Yes.
so this is, we've been talking about, I'm interviewing you now as from a consulting perspective, but, I'm speaking about the planning business, but for us, a passion is, if we work with an organization that leads planners, we really want them to think deeply about who they recruit and how they develop them. And so this is now putting my consultant's hat on and saying, you've recruited 100 people over 3 years. What's your retention rate? What capacity building is happening in your business for the financial planner? What opportunities? How are you developing? This is a hard job. It's a hard career. It's not easy to start a business. And so what are organizations doing to really enable them and not just seeking a bottom line and commission and sales from them? So what can we say to the old, as you say, the organizations that's employing?
I really think the story I shared around the mentorship program is one of the answers. I do believe so many organizations actually already have some level of just generic mentorship, right? In terms of the different disciplines, career-wise or qualification-wise, I think I'd rather say. But funny enough, there isn't too much of a focus in the financial planning. And these are our financial planning businesses. Sure. It's the likes of your Old Mutuals. It's the likes of maybe even your Liberties, your Sanlams, and everybody else. And I always say, but what really, really keeps our lights on is the financial advisory business. If there's a focus on actuaries, and there's a focus on engineers, and there's a focus on IT, all these fancy IT terms that have now come up because of, AI and all of these things, there should be a very specific focus on financial planning. And I think similarly, where you really attract talent while it's still deciding what kind of a job it wants, right? You really catch it there. And you engage people and you provide those opportunities, but you provide the opportunities with an extremely planned approach, and you spoke like about a 2-year plan or a 3-year plan in terms of a graduate development program. Guys, these things are happening in the medical space. It's happening for your attorneys and your advocates. It's definitely happening for your accountants.
And it's a norm, Amanda.
It is a
It's
norm,
normative.
but it's only just started happening for financial planning. Thank God it started, but I would really say everybody else needs to get on that bandwagon and actually drive that even more. And I think that's one of the things that will create opportunities for young people. That's one of the things that will help the young people really understand
But it requires
what are the
investment,
different career
It
paths.
requires investment and money and time. I mean, we know all about that. I mean, a personal story. I started out in that sort of environment. It was hard. We came across a crazy stat. Over a 5-year period, if 100 new advisors join in an advisory business, they retained 3 out of 100 over a 5-year period. That's crazy.
It is.
That's not normal.
It's very low.
I don't see that happening in accountant profession, attorneys.
Legal.
You won't see that happening. And so there's definitely a need for organizations to lift the stakes and the appreciation of the profession. Because like you say, they bring in the business. They keep that business alive in your big company.
And we're slowly seeing that. So I think I did mention, I think we now have almost 30 black brokerages that we fund. And 4 currently of those have a very bespoke paraplanner development program. It's not a 1-year graduate program like an internship. It's actually a fully fledged graduate development program. And I understand what you said around it really requires an investment. Of course it does. But even recruiting those 100 people when 95 aren't even going to be with you in 5 years' time, it's still the same investment. You still invested resources in getting them there, in maybe covering their medical aid, in paying them some level of stipend, developing them and all of these things. And maybe that number should reduce to 50. And then you retain 5 or 10, but there should be a focus with that, bespoke development program.
Yeah, and the problem with that, it does harm to the industry. It really does harm to the industry. So, yeah, we're on the same page.
It's still that reputational thing in terms of you then get people who don't find financial advisory as an aspirational kind of a role. And it should be. It's such a beautiful job. I loved being a planner.
No, it is. And sometimes I see these advertisements and the promises people are making, and I'm thinking, you don't know what you're getting into. Because there's no structured development program and support. So, we covered a lot.
And we're currently building one. So like I said, we've funded 4 practices that are kind of spearheading what a paraplanner graduate program should look like, and they're trying it out. But we actually currently in conversations as a business. So not just BDT, but as a business to say, there's an actuary development program, there's an accounting development program. Let's have a financial planning development program. And hopefully everyone else will kind of, come on board and see the value of doing that.
Well, Amanda, I absolutely love the passion for the industry that you have.
Thank you.
I've been privileged to be part of that industry for many years, even though in a different function and capacity now. But it's been a great privilege to be part of the BDT. Any final words of encouragement for the camera there?
I think it would be to you, actually, because I think, hopefully we've shared some nuggets already, and I think maybe just motivated other businesses out there to really give a try, to some of the stuff we're doing and why we're doing them and how we've been doing them and what the different practices are trying to achieve. But I think probably mine is to you. I really wish you the best with your practice.
Thank you for your time. And to our audience, today was all about financial planning. And from our side at 360 Consulting, we want you to know that everything we do, we are relational and not transactional. Thank you.